like we said, my name is Jill. I work for Content Square. I lead up our customer success team. And what were we doing? The song, right? So I was thinking, I actually went into my Spotify because I couldn't come up with this. And essentially, it really depends on my mood. I might start the day with, a little bit of Backstreet Boys. Might start the day with a little bit of Calvin Harris, or I might start the day with, I don't know, something completely different, like Linkin Park. It really depends on what my mood is, and I was driving here actually listening to the radio, and there was a really good song that came on, and I drove into the car park, and I left it on for a little bit, but I forgot what it was, so sorry about that. It feels a little bit like everybody's going into a little bit of a sleep mode. The energy isn't that up, so what I'm going to get you guys to do is everybody get up. You're going to hate me for it, I know, but it doesn't matter. I need your attention. So everybody get up. So we're going to pretend like, when we were kids, you're already doing it perfect. So there's a tree, you want to, like apple tree, you really want to get that apple on that apple tree. So you're going to really stretch up, really like go up all the way on your tippy toes, all the way up there. Get that apple, and then the other arm. Get that apple again there, and now both arms. Okay, and down, and now shake it all off. Shake it off, and then you can sit back down. All right, now I got your blood pumping a little bit, which means maybe I can keep your energy and keep you guys awake. As you can see by my title, I'm going to go against a little bit, or a lot, to what was being said yesterday. We heard some things around how can we do customer success with a zero meeting approach? How can we do things at a scalable way? How can we automate everything? How can we make it programmed, continuous, clear communication, but still like super low touch and basically not talk to our customers anymore? To me, that seems awfully robotic. I'm going to be seeing Wall-E a lot in my presentation. And being robotic is actually not going to help you in today's world, because as a customer success function, we are there to create client experiences. We're there to be connected to our customers, and we want to be different. So if we're thinking about the economic downturn right now, what we've noticed is like mid-last year, we started getting ghosted hardcore by our executives. Like, it was always hard to reach executives, we all probably know that, but then it became even harder. We started getting random churn notifications in our mailbox, and we were like, what? They were happy, they're using the tool, what is going on? And of course, the other problem that we had is that our key stakeholders all of a sudden started getting laid off, which means we now no longer had those connections at customers. So the customer success role became tougher than it has ever been before. And it was like, all right, if it's tough and we don't really know how to approach this, what do we do? Basically, it means we need to innovate. We need to look at our role, what can we do different? How can we change our current approach? How can we change what we are doing? We were really great at that whole automation thing. We were really good at being robots. But we really needed to look into how can we be different. So, just like you did, I also asked ChatGPT. I figured talking about robots, might as well ask a robot. So I was like, okay, ChatGPT, tell me, how can I be more human in a digital world? ChatGPT took a really long time to answer this, and came up with basically 5 points. Practice mindfulness, connect with each other, embrace your emotions, take breaks from technology, and engage in acts of kindness. I thought that was pretty good. I was like, good on you, ChatGPT. Practice mindfulness might be a little bit harder towards your customers in the customer success role, but I do believe that connecting with others, embracing your emotions towards your customers, asking them to take breaks from technology by doing more human interactions, as well as engaging in acts of kindness, are definitely things we as customer success managers can do, just not in a robotic sense. We have to go back to being more human. So what does that mean? What did we do as a business? We had our quarterly KPIs. They probably look very similar to yours. Our business KPIs, 92 gross retention rate, 133 net retention rate. All right, operational KPIs, number of customers with a success plan, number of customers with QBRs, and number of monthly active users. No surprises there. All of those, though, being extremely, extremely robotic. None of these speak human. None of these speak personal connections. None of these talk about how am I, connected to all of those stakeholders. So what we did in Q4, we added new KPIs. We called them the human KPIs. We started tracking number of in-person meetings in your book of business, and the goal was 75%. We also added a KPI which we called Human Connection Index. And that we also said, we want to have you do a Human Connection Index with at least 75% of your book of business. What does that mean? What's a Human Connection Index? I'll give you some examples. It meant moving your online trainings, your online workshops to be offline. But not just to tell them, hey, come to my office, I'm going to do the exact same session I would have done online, offline. Because then the response you're going to get, well, that could have been an email. And we want to avoid that. So what we did is like, all right, we need to take it to the next level. You're doing an offline workshop with us. Great. Let's make it into some sort of a game, some sort of a competition. Let's add drinks. Let's do some sort of like other creative thing together with them in the room, because you're getting them into the room, which is already a great thing. They're showing up. Another example. Christmas time, Q4, right? It was great. It was great for us. Human Connection Index for us was, we did a competition with some of our customers who was the greatest Christmas tree. We also sent out things like, hey, there's a gift guide for you, just really quick. I know you're probably still thinking for your team or your coworkers, I found these 3 gifts that I think are going to be really cool. Anything to do with customer success or the product you sell? No. It wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to be a human connection, because they were still looking for presents. They were thinking about it. So connect with them on that level. Next thing, we have Björn Borg as a customer. They're a sports company. Their CEO is known to be an absolute sports freak. So customer success team went over to the team and said, hey guys, we're going to be in your office, going to do a session with you. And then we know over lunchtime you always do a workout. Can we join you? We joined them for a workout. Ended up being the CEO joining, and ended up being the CEO's workout, which was 200 push-ups, 200 pull-ups, 200 toes to bar. Really sucked for my CSM, felt very sorry for her for the next 3 weeks. But we were there, we met these people, we met executives, we created connections by sweating over it or something like that. And that was memorable. We still talk with them about that workout, even 3 months later. It's still a running conversation and joke inside the company. One more example, we had Spotify, one of our customers, talk at our worldwide kickoff. Our exec from Spotify is known to always wear beanies. So he showed up to our worldwide kickoff wearing a beanie, because he's very conscious of his hair, and if he hasn't gotten it right in the morning, he puts a beanie on it. So it became an internal joke that every meeting we would have with the exec there, we would all wear a beanie. And then we also made sure that next time he does speak at a worldwide kickoff, he at least has a Content Square branded beanie. We bought him one and sent it over to him and say, hey, next time, just wear this one and then you're good. One of my other execs, I was supposed to go running with her. She works for ASICS. And we had just done a competitive run the week before. I sprained my ankle, she hurt her knee, and we were like, damn it, now we can't do our run. I didn't want that meeting to go to waste, but I knew I needed to come up with something. So what did I do? I knew she wants a dog. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring my dog and we're going to go for a walk together. She loved it. She was like, her kids were so jealous they couldn't join. We ended up walking in the rain for 2.5 hours, talking about everything, of course also about business, and we had an absolutely amazing time. Last one from my side, Artipop, for those of you who have kids, might know them. They have these baby carrier things that are like super hip and super cool. Dutch-based company. They were looking for some product testers. So sales, CSM, solutions expert, they went over and were like, we'll test your product, different sizes of people, different, things like that. So they went over there. Also there, we're helping our customers on a human level. They're looking for product testers. I did a focus group test at Ace and Tate last year because they were looking for somebody. I volunteered, like, sure, I'll do it. So think about it in that sense. Our human connection index is about thinking outside of the box, thinking creatively, thinking about what can we do with our customers that is not just purely, hey, are you using the tool? Hey, there was that support ticket. Or excuse me, can we schedule a QBR? Be a human behind that. Do not be that robot. Of course, you want to know, was it successful? And why did we even choose the human approach? So before we even chose it, we had a look at what were our renewals like with customers where we did have that human connection with, versus what was it like with those where we didn't. So we were already tracking things like how many emails do we send, how many in-person meetings do we have, how many in-general interactions do we have. But then we took it one level deeper and said, those human interactions, how are they impacting our renewals? And we could clearly see that those where we had human connections with, 75% of them were more likely to were renewing. And the ones where we only had 25% with, those were lost churns. Let me give you one other example with a bit of numbers behind it. Asda is a UK supermarket. Some of you might know. If not, take Albert Heijn as an example. They had a renewal coming up in Q4. We were in April last year, and it was like, these numbers are starting to look terrible. So connections for us are like logins in our tool. We also had the parent company who started using a competitor. Big red flag. We knew they were going to go through a replatform. And then the economic buyer stopped talking to us. We were like, oh no, another ghost. What can we do here to get this back up? So what did we do? We started going on site. Yes, it is a 2.5-hour train ride from London for the London team each time. But we made sure to go on site twice every month, except for July because of summer vacation. We did on-site workshops with users. We built solid relationships with the champion, and then we used the champion to become our internal ambassador towards the economic buyer. And as you can see, by doing that, our connections started going back up. Why? Because we were top of mind. We were there. We were with them. We showed up. We were in their office. We were talking to them. I love user psychology, so I was just like, let me look into this. What is this user psychology behind all of this? And basically, it comes down to your cognitive bias, especially that of the execs. We all have a cognitive bias, and you probably all know what cognitive bias is. But essentially, it is a way of your brain taking shortcuts. We have so much information in our brain, and it needs to take a shortcut. So your cognitive bias is essentially based on various different things. It could be limited attention. It could be social pressure, just a general mental shortcut, certain emotions, or also personal motivation. So when you're thinking about your exec, and your exec is being put into this position in the economic downturn, being told, hey, you need to cut costs and you need to cut tools. What are they going to do? In an ideal world, they're purely going to look at the data, which tool is the lowest usage, lowest ROI, and highest cost. In reality, most execs do not function that way. They will look at those numbers, but they will also think about, how did you guys make me feel? Which product is the one top of mind for me? Which one is the one that is helping me as an exec achieve my personal motivation? So I had one exec the other day. I was like, what's your personal motivation? What are you looking to achieve in your career? And he openly told us, he was like, I want to have a stronger brand in the society of data analytics. And I was like, great. We're going to put you on stage here and there. We're going to make sure you write blogs. He is now one of the biggest influencers in the data analytics world. Is he going to get rid of us? Probably not, because we tapped into his personal motivation. I had another exec, and she was like, well, I'm exploring other tools, and I really don't know what to choose. And I'm like, you know what? I'll connect you with a bunch of other customers that are using a bunch of the tools that you're exploring. You talk to each one of those, and then you can make a decision. Also there, I'm helping her to identify what she needs to do, and helping her with her personal motivation there as well. So it's all about how are you making your execs feel. If you're being a robot, you can't really do that. If all you're doing is sending random, automated, generic emails, you cannot do that. I want to give you guys a framework, and I wanted to make it personal. I used to be in management consulting, so my first inclination is always a 2x2 matrix, but I was like, need to do something more personal since I'm talking about a personal approach. I love baking. Tanya and I were talking about KitchenAids yesterday in the happy hour. So I cannot give you the ratio. So I cannot give you the numbers that are right for your business, because you need to find that out. What are your percentages? What are your numbers that are correct for your business? But what I can give you is the ingredients or the KPIs around how to be more human. So some things I want you to potentially put onto your KPI list for next quarter is the number of in-person meetings. What your target is, that is something I cannot give you. Number of human connections. Define human connections the way that you want to. We defined it as anything that is, non-business-like, or anything that is beyond the traditional thought of your normal QBR. Think about the number of exec check-ins that you have, also something really worth tracking. But most of all, make sure your customer success team has the ability to be creative, be fun, and basically go beyond the business talk with all of it. I know a lot of you guys in this room are actually leading teams. So I really wanted to make sure I put this slide in here, because the human connection isn't only for your customers, it's also for your teams. Heard from a few of you, purely remote companies and things like that. How can you put the human connection also into your team from a leadership perspective? Some examples that worked for me, I'm not going to say they're going to work for you and your team, but something that we do. We did a workout. We all went spinning together. It was 15 of us doing a spinning class together. Tons of fun. Actually ended up being, now it's a Slack channel where somebody will post, hey, I'm going to go spinning on Wednesday at 12. Anybody else want to join? And it's like a community now around going for workouts together, which is amazing. Also, we're all human. We all, watch funny reels or TikToks. Not me, I'm too old for TikTok, but, we all watch funny stuff somewhere. Post it in your Slack channel, your team Slack. It doesn't always only have to be so serious. Share personal things. Think about, also the struggles. What are you personally struggling with? I feel like every time I share with my team something that I'm struggling with, they open up to me a lot more, and it becomes a lot more receptive, and they are like, okay, she's struggling with this. Okay, great. That means if I'm struggling with something, I can also go to her. It's not a problem. Just making that connection on a human side as well, and don't always be perfect, because you're not, so admit it. Open the doors to your home. I know it's a little bit of a debated topic. I invited my entire team to come to my house. I was like, I'm having drinks. If you want to come over, come over. If you don't worry about it. Had a bunch of them come over to my house. We had a few drinks together for like an hour or two, and then they left again. But just that, connection there as well. And then last but not least, also showing your emotions. We all have them. We don't need to hide them. I think hiding emotions is kind of like, the 80s kind of business practices. So let's go beyond. The 80s music was great. We can keep that. But from a business practice standpoint, let's move beyond the 80s. Show your emotions to your team. Show them that you're struggling with something, or show how something is making you feel. Of course, it shouldn't be, if you're extremely stressed, scream at your team. That's not what I mean with showing your emotions. Just to be clear, that's not what I'm talking about. All right. If you weren't listening for the whole presentation, it's fine. I know, it's a conference. We don't always listen. But please do take these 3 takeaways with you. Customer success has to be your competitive advantage. We at Content Square actually pitch customer success in our sales cycle. It's the last thing. I will go into big deals, especially the really large ones, And the very last thing before closing, I will do a session on customer success. I will do a session about why we are a competitive advantage and why we're different from our competitors. Because let's be honest, all of our products from our competitors are basically the same. Right? We already heard it from Michael. Stop being so proud of your product, but you need to have a competitive advantage somewhere, so let customer success be that competitive advantage. Also, let your team inject that creativity and that humanness into their client interactions. Give them the space, the time, and the ability to do so. Might mean you need a little bit more budget reserved for that. Okay, fine. Make that happen. And last but not least, you need to find the balance for your business between the robotic or scalable, however you want to call it, and the personal approach. Of course, not everything can be personal, because we cannot, from a time perspective, it doesn't work. But we need to look into where can we inject that personality and that personal and human approach. Might not be everywhere, but it is every now and then. All right, happy to connect with you guys. Fun fact, that's not the QR code to my LinkedIn. I figured you guys all know my name. You can figure out my LinkedIn. That is the QR code to my dog's Instagram. So if you want some more puppies in your life, feel free to follow her. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. I will be following your dog. What is your dog's name?
Mila.
Mila, that's right. All right, so you did tell me that. Amazing presentation, thank you. We have a couple questions. And the first one is I agree with, and this is going to be a hot topic, but the human approach, as you said, is very important. It's the key differentiator. But how does that affect your cost? And you mentioned slightly about the budget piece as well. So, and the great question, is your CEO happy with these decisions?
So our CEO is happy with the decisions if we're hitting our targets. And our region has over-exceeded its targets for the entire of FY22, and also in Q1, we've exceeded all of our targets. So far, my CEO is happy with me. When it comes to costs, we do have a budget. It's not massive, but it is a small budget on the side for things that we call customer experience. And you don't need thousands of euros, because basically a lot of these things, like we said, the Christmas tree competition, it didn't cost us anything. Or an email around the gift guide doesn't cost us anything. Of course, a beanie with printed Content Square on it will cost us, I don't know, 30 euros or something. Also that, we're not talking about massive investments here. I think the biggest investment that we have is the time from the team. So that's why I said find that balance for you. It's not like we're going to have a human approach for every single customer, regardless of ACV and regardless, throughout the year. There has to be a balance. So our goal for our enterprise customers is once a quarter. Our goal for our strategic customers is once a month. And for the digital customers, it's more like once every 6 months, right? So that balance, that's the right one for us. You need to figure out what's the right one for you guys, depending on how you tier your customers. And then you will see that the biggest cost part is the actual people time spent on it.
And just to follow up on that question, because it's something that we feel, that I've felt in my company as well too, but obviously people's behaviors around social activities was slow to kind of come back. I mean, you talk about the 80s where a lot of business deals were done on the golf carts or outside of a happy hour. How has that changed, or how does Content Square really handle maybe some of the social awkwardness of getting together or doing all these face-to-face meetings, and maybe has there been pushback?
We haven't felt any pushback, to be honest. Yes, it was a little bit slow, I think, coming right out of the pandemic, but it's been like a year now, so I feel like people are also enjoying the human interaction again, but you need to make it worthwhile. Like I said, don't just make a workshop that you normally would do online one-to-one in person, because you're asking people to spend more time because they're going to travel and so on. You need to add a little something into that person, like that on-site workshop. There needs to be a little fun part to it. The other day we did one for one of our customers and we brought an ice cream cart. right? There was like ice cream after the workshop or something. Or we have one of our customers actually sells wine online. So we asked them for the entire team to do a wine tasting afterwards. Things like that.
That's great. Agree. Amazing presentation. Also curious, how do you track the human connection index and essentially not make it another admin task for your team?
Yeah, so we use Gainsight, we use track in Gainsight, so the only thing we ask the team to do is add HXN as the words in the title of their note-taking, and then we can, when we take a download from Gainsight, we can just search for HXN and then track it like that. That made it easy for us. Also in Gainsight, there is this little tick that you can say if it's an in-person meeting. That's something that they will tick always anyways if it is an in-person meeting, but for the HXN specific one, that was just those 3 letters needed to be in the subject line of the notes, and then we were good.
Perfect. So the next one was related to the budget in terms of, I think you had said during sales, you kind of bring in the CSM as part of the element. How do you get buy-in for the budget on the human connections, if there needs to be the budget, essentially?
Yeah. So as I said, we as a company are very customer experience focused. We are in the customer experience space, so we have to be. It's something that the company has always had a certain budget for. We also have a customer experience team. They do larger, bigger events, which means they need bigger budgets. When we're talking about the things that CSMs do, because it's so one-off, the budget, as I said, that we needed there, I don't know, I might have a budget allocated for the year of 5K. Like that maximum, not even, for all of my customers in my region, for all of my CSMs together. So it's not, as I said, the costs of this are not all the way up there as it might seem. Also, me going for a walk with my dog, which I was going to do anyways, and I just took the exec with me, doesn't cost anything. So think about it that way. It doesn't always have to be the most expensive, super big events, expensive dinners. Actually, avoid dinners. We're so over dinners, so over lunches. Figure something else out. Be more creative about it, because a lunch and a dinner actually doesn't fly. I'll give my team pushback and say, I don't want you to go to dinner with the team. I want you to figure out something else, something that's a lot more fun. I think we're going to do a perfume workshop with one of our, like a few of our customers actually together in a few weeks. So things like that.
And they can be they can be memorable, right? Rather than a dinner, because you'll remember creating something. Yeah. I've done a candle workshop with a client, so that's an idea as well too. Yeah. We just have a couple more minutes, so we'll try to get to a few more questions. What did you learn from the ASDA regarding their change in the use of platform once you started to go on site?
I think for us, the ASDA topic was a lot more that we were top of mind, and we started teaching them about, hey, this is your challenge this week. All right, great. Then for this part of that challenge, you could use Content Square, because a lot of times we feel customers might not know when to actually use Content Square and when to, like, they have it in their mind, oh, if I'm doing this really, really big campaign analysis, yes, that's one use case, but there is around, 25 more, and not every customer will always know that. So being on site more, we can, through conversation, tap into, have you tried checking in Content Square what like the numbers are for that? Or if you look into Content Square here, that will actually give you an answer to XYZ. So that's what has helped the most with the ASDA topic.
Great. I think we have time for one more. Vanessa, great question. I personally agree with this. We're all time poor, right? That's a buzzword. So how do you balance, being more creative and being more human when resources are tight?
Yeah. So we're at capacity, and I do not have headcount for the rest of the year. So we are definitely also our resources are limited. We haven't been hiring for over a year now. As I said, if you think about it that way, if you're doing 1,000 emails to that one customer, trying to get them to talk to you, and it's really not working, is it that much more time than if you actually think about one more creative topic or sending a different email that might spark a response? It could also be a little bit more of a controversial email, like not controversial in the negative sense, but just like getting them to read that email. It's not one of your automated emails and another one about a QBR and another one about, hey, usage is going down, what's happening? Or, hey, can we schedule a monthly or something like that? Think about the creative part in that email, and even if it's just one part of the email that you're going to send anyways, just being a bit more human about it. I had one of my CSMs the other day. So she's an absolute Spotify nerd, and she also works on the Spotify account. Good, lucky for her. But she basically found out this new feature that they had launched because she ended up being in one of their rollout phases, A/B test. So she responded to them, it's like, hey, I saw this feature in Spotify, really awesome, really loved it, and basically gave them feedback about it. Also that, a little bit more of a human touch, but it actually sparked an entire conversation with the product team on Spotify's side. So just kind of thinking about it that way, instead of thinking about it, my resources are limited, this is an additional thing I have to add on top of it. No, it should actually be replacing or actually should be making your job easier.
Thank you. There are more questions. I wish we had time for it. So please, again, if your question wasn't answered, please find Jill during the coffee break. We can certainly, let's give it up for Jill one more time.
Thank you.
Thank you.